In this video, we will take a closer look at the movie Venome, The Last Dance 2024. We will discuss the film's story, provide a summary of the plot, and explore the cast and characters. In addition, we will examine the movie production detail and analyze its box office performance. Finally, we will share reviews and offer some personal reaction to the film. So let's begin. When we talk about the modern superhero film, and there are a few titles that stand out for the unique tone and style. One of those film is Venom The Last Dance, the 2024 installment in Sony's popular Venom franchise. Before diving into the story, character, and deeper analysis, it's worth taking a moment to wrap up the discussion and explore why this movie is such an interesting topic for movie lovers and critics alike. First, let's consider the genre. At its core, the film belongs to the superhero and sci-fi action genre, but it has always tried to stand slightly apart from traditional superhero movies. Unlike the typical hero who fight crime out of pure morality, the central character of the franchise, Venom, is more of an anti-hero. He is dangerous, unpredictable, and often violent. This darker tone gives the Venom films a very different atmosphere compared to many other comic book adaptations. The movie continues the story of Eddie Brock, played once again by Tom Hardy. Eddie is a journalist who shares his body with the alien symbiote Venom, and their unusual relationship has always been the emotional core of the series. What makes the franchise interesting is that it blends action, horror element, and dark comedy. The conversation between Eddie and Venom often create humor in the middle of otherwise intense action scene, making the tone feel unpredictable and entertainment. Another important reason this film is worth discussing is the involvement of director Kelly Marcel. Marcel has been closely connected to the Venom universe for years, previously working as a writer on earlier entries in the series, including Venom and Venom Let's There Be Carnage. With The Last Dance, she takes the director's chair. What makes the film particularly interesting from a filmmaking perspective, and a writer who understands the character deeply step into the role of director, it often lead to a more focused and character driven approach to storytelling. From a production standpoint, the film represents another major project from Sony Pictures, the studio responsible for building its own universe of Marvel related characters. Over the past few years, Sony has been expanding his collection of films based on Marvel characters, and the Venom series has been one of its most successful ventures. Because of this success, the film carries significant expectation from both fans and the studio itself. The production style of the Venom film has always been recognizable. The visual effect play a major role, especially when bringing the alien symbiote to film. Venom appearance, movement, and transformation rely heavily on advanced CGI technology. However, the movie also tried to create a grounded feeling by focusing on the relationship between Andy and Venom rather than relying solely on spectacle. Another aspect that this movie make worth discussing is its position within the larger comic book landscape. In recent years, superhero movies have become one of the most dominant genre in global cinema. Yet the audience have started to look for something slightly different within the genre, stories that experiment with tone, character, or themes. The Venom series attempt to fill that space by presenting a protagonist who is not exactly heroic but still strangely likable. Finally, the title itself, The Last Dance, suggests something significant. It hints that this chapter might serve as a conclusion or turning point for Eddie and Venome's story. Whenever a film is marketed as a potential final entry in a series, it naturally attracts attention. Fan becomes curious about how the story will end, while critics look closely at how the filmmaker choose to wrap up the narrative. So before even discussing the plot detail, the film gives us a plenty to talk about its unusual place within the superhero genre. The creative leadership of Kelly Marcel, the performance of Tom Hardy, and the broader strategy of Sony Picture in expanding its cinematic universe. All of these factors make the film an intriguing subject for analysis and conservation. The production budget of the film play an important role in understanding how the film was planned and executed from a financial and creative perspective. In the modern film industry, especially within the superhero genre, budget often determines the scale of action, the complexity of visual effect, and the overall production quality. Examining the financial structure of this film help explain how the studio approached the final chapter of the Venome trilogy. The estimated production cost of the film is generally reported to be around $110 million. This figure places the film in the category of mid to large scale blockbuster production. While this amount is substantial, it is noticeably lower than the budget of many modern superhero films, which frequently exceed $200 million. By keeping the budget around this film, Sony Picture appear to have taken a calculated approach that balance spectacle with financial cushion. One of the most significant area where the budget is utilized is in visual effect and computer generated imagery. The character Venome is created almost entirely through digital technology. Every transformation, movement, and battle sequence involving the symbiotes require advanced animation and visual effect work. Creating these sequences involve team of artists, animator, and technical specialists who work during both production and post production. Because the Venome design is highly detailed and fluid, maintaining the character realism on screen demand a considerable portion of the film's resources. Another major allocation of the budget goes toward cast and talent compensation. The film once again featured Tom Hardy, who played Eddie Brock, while also providing the voice and performance element for Venome. As the central star and one of the most creative forces behind the franchise, Hardy's involvement is a major component of the production. Leading actor in established franchises typically receive significant salaries, especially when they help define the identity of the series across multiple films. Beyond the lead actor, the production budget also supports the wider cast, including performers such as Chiwetel Ejiofor, Juno Temple, and Rhys Ifans. Each of these actors contribute to the film's narrative depth and overall appeal. Alongside the cast, a large production crew is required to handle cinematography, sound recording, stunt coordination, costume design, and special effect. Location shooting and set construction also represent important spending category. Even though many scenes involve digital effect, filmmakers still rely on physical environment to create believable setting for action sequence. Set must be built, location secure, and large production team coordinating. These logistical requirements contribute significantly to the overall budget of a film of this scale. Another key stage where resources are heavily invested is post production. After filming is completed, editor, sound designer, and visual effect team refine the movie over many months. For a film like Venome, the last dance post production work is particularly intensive because the symbiote effect and action scene must be carefully integrated with live action footage. When comparing this budget to earlier entries in the franchise, an interesting pattern emerges. The first film, Venome, had a production cost of roughly $110 to $116 million. The second installment, Venome Let There Be Carnage, was produced with a budget close to $110 million. The similar cost of the third film suggests that the studio maintained a consistent financial model throughout the trilogy. This consistency indicates that the producer believed the established formula was effective. Instead of dramatically increasing the budget for the final chapter, they focused on maintaining the same scale that had already proven successful with audience. This approach allowed the studio to control financial risk while still delivering the level of action and visual spectacle expected from the series. When compared to other superhero production in the wider comic book film industry, the Venom film operated with relatively moderate budget. Many films with larger cinematic universe often involve enormous cast, global location, and massive visual effect sequence that push cost far higher. In contrast, the Venome franchise focuses primarily on the dynamic relationship between the Eddie Brock and the symbiote Venome, which allow the filmmaker to keep the story more concentrated while still delivering exciting action. Overall, the production budget of the film reflects a strategic balance between financial discipline and blockbuster ambition. By maintaining a controlled budget while investing heavily in visual effect, talent, and post production quality, the studio ensured that the film could remain visually impressive without reaching the extreme cost level often associated with the superhero genre. The genre and the overall mood of the Venom The Last Dance play a significant role in shaping how audience experience the film. While it clearly belonged to the superhero category, the movie blends several genres together, creating a tone that feels slightly different from many traditional cosmic book adaptations. By combining action, science fiction, dark comedy, and the elements of horror, the film develops a distinctive atmosphere that reflects the unusual relationship between the main character. At its foundation, the movie operates as a superhero action film. The story revolves around a powerful being who possesses extraordinary abilities and becomes involved in large-scale conflict. However, unlike many heroic figures found in comic book cinema, the central character Venom is not a typical hero. Instead, he functions more as an anti-hero, someone who can be aggressive, unpredictable, and sometimes morally ambiguous. This aspect of the character influences the tone of the entire film and gives the story a darker edge. The science fiction component of the movie is also very important. The narrative revolves around alien symbiotes, advanced biological organisms that bond with human hosts. This concept brings a futuristic and otherworldly feeling to the story. The presence of these aliens' life form allow the filmmaker to explore theme of identity, survival, and the boundaries between human and non-human existence. Visually, the science fiction aspect is emphasized through special effect transformation and the fluid movement of the symbiote character. At the same time, the movie incorporates elements of horror. The appearance and the behavior of Venom can sometimes feel intimidating and monstrous. His sharp teeth, dark liquid form, and sudden transformation contribute to human that resemble creature-based horror film. These visual choices create tension and help maintain a slightly unsettling atmosphere throughout the story. Even during action sequence, there is often a sense that Venom is not entirely under control, which add an unpredictable quality to the film's mood. Despite these darker elements, the film also makes strong use of dark humor. Much of this humor comes from the ongoing interaction between Eddie Brock and the symbiote living inside him. Eddie, portrayed by Tom Hardy, often finds himself arguing with Venom, creating comedic exchanges that break the tension of intense scene. This mixture of humor and danger has become one of the defining stylistic features of the Venom series. The contrast between frightening action and playful dialogue help keep the tone balanced rather than overwhelming dark. The atmosphere of the film frequently shifts between chaotic action and quieter atmosphere movement. When the story focuses on Eddie and Venom's relationship, the mood becomes more emotional and reflective. These scenes allow the audience to understand the strange partnership between the two characters. Another stylistic element involved the film darker color palette and nighttime setting. Many scenes take place in dimly lit environment which help emphasize the mysterious and alien nature of the symbiote. Shadows, contrasting lighting, and dramatic action choreography all contribute to the film's intense atmosphere. Overall, the genre and the mood of the film are defined by a careful balance of action, science fiction, dark humor, and hints of horror. The combination of these elements produce a film that feels energetic yet slightly chaotic and dramatic yet playful. Through this shifting tone, fast pacing, and distinctive visual style, the movie maintains an atmosphere that reflects the unusual bond between Eddie Brock and the powerful alien symbiote Venome. Before audience even step into the theater to watch the film, they usually carry a set of expectations shaped by earlier film in the series, the broader superhero genre, and the reputation of the actor and the studio behind the production. Expectations play a major role in how viewers interrupt and react to a movie, especially when it is a part of an established franchise. In this case, the Venom series already has a strong identity, so many viewers approach the film with certain ideas about what we'll see and experience. One of the most important factors shaping audience expectation is viewers demographic. The Venom franchise appeal to a wider range of age group, but it tend to attract a particularly strong following among teenager and young adult who enjoy action hero superhero film. These viewers often expect intense fight scenes, impressive visual effect, and high energy pacing. The character Venom is known for his aggressive and powerful nature, so fans generally anticipate dramatic confrontation and large scale action sequence. At the same time, the series also attract viewers who enjoy comic book adaptation with a darker tone. Unlike many traditional superhero film, with the protagonist represent clear moral goodness, the Venom franchise focuses on a more complicated figure. Venom is not entirely heroic, and this moral ambiguity has become one of the defining features of the character. Because of this, many viewers expect the film to maintain the slightly darker and edgier tone that distinguish the series from more traditional superhero stories. Another group of viewers approaching the film include fans of the previous Venom movies. Earlier entries such as Venom and Venom Let There Be Carnage established the unusual partnership between Eddie Brock and Venom. This relationship, portrayed by Tom Hardy, has become the emotional center of the franchise. Fans of the earlier film usually expect the third installment to continue exploring this more, showing both the conflict and the cooperation between Eddie and the symbiote. Many viewers also anticipate a similar balance between action and humor. One of the distinctive features of the Venom films is the comedic dialogue between Eddie and Venom, who often argue or tease each other despite sharing the same body. These moments provide a contrast to the darker action sequence. As a result, audience often enter the theater expecting not only exciting battles but also entertaining character interaction that add personality to the story. Audience expectations are also shaped by the broader popularity of the superhero genre. Over the past decade, comic book films have become one of the most dominating form of the blockbuster entertainment. Fans of this genre typically expect a certain level of spectacle, including dramatic confrontation, visually impressive special effects, and large-scale stakes that threaten cities or even the entire world. Because Venom the Last Dance belong to the genre, viewers often anticipate intense action scenes and visually striking patterns include the symbiote power. Another important factor influencing expectation is the idea suggested by the film's title. The phrase "the last dance" hint that the movie may represent the final chapter in Eddie Brock and Venom's story. Whenever a film is marketed as a potential conclusion to a series, audience often expect a more emotional narrative and a sense of closure. Fans may hope to see major character development, dramatic sacrifice, or meaningful resolution to long-running conflict. The presence of Sony Pictures as a producing studio also contribute to the expectation. Sony has been developing its own collection of film connected to Marvel character and the Venom series is one of the most recognizable part of that effort because the earlier film achieved significant commercial success. Audience generally expect the third installment to deliver a similar level of production quality, including polish in visual effect and large scale action sequence. Another segment of the audience consists of casual moviegoers who may not follow comic book stories closely but still enjoy entertaining blockbuster experience. For these viewers, expectations are usually centered on straightforward storyline, engaging character, and memorable action scenes. They may not be focused on the deeper comic book history of Venom but still expect a film that is usually exciting and easy to follow. Viewers are also long-time comic book fans who are familiar with Venom history in Marvel comic. These viewers may approach the film with curiosity about how the character is portrayed, how closely the story reflects the spirit of the original comic material. While adaptation often change certain detail, fans typically hope to see elements that capture personality and power of the iconic symbiotes. Overall, the expectations surrounding the film are shaped by several factors, including the established reputation of the franchise, the popularity of the superhero genre, and the memorable dynamic between the Eddie Brock and the Venom. Different group of viewers, ranging from dedicated comic fan to casual blockbuster audience, bring their own hope and assumption into the theater. These expectations influence how the film is received and how the audience ultimately elevate the final chapter of this unusual supreme superhero partnership. The film is designed to appeal to a broad audience, but certain group of viewers are more clearly targeted based on the film's tone, theme, and style of storytelling. Like many superhero film, it aimed to attract both long-time fan of comic book character and general moviegoer who enjoy action-driven entertainment. However, the specific nature of the Venom character and the darker tone of the franchise helped define the film's primary audience more clearly. One of the main age group targeted by the movie is teenager and young adult, generally ranging from the mid teen year to viewers in their 30s. This age group often respond strongly to fast-paced storytelling, visually striking action sequence, and charismatic character with unusual personalities. Because the film featured intense battle, dramatic visual effect, and a slightly darker sense of humor, it aligned well with the interest of younger audience who enjoy high-energy cinematic experience. While younger teenagers may also be interested in the film due to its connection to the Marvel universe, the darker tone of the Venom series make it slightly different from more family-friendly superhero stories. The character Venom is portrayed as powerful, aggressive, and sometimes unpredictable, which gives the movie a tone that is more intense than many traditional comic book adaptations. For this reason, the film is particularly appealing to viewers who prefer superhero stories with a stronger edge. Another important segment of the target audience include fan of action and science fiction film. The movie contains many elements that appeal to viewers who enjoy large-scale action scenes, imaginative features, and futuristic concepts. The alien symbiote at the center of the story introduces science fiction themes involving extraterrestrial life and biological transformation. These ideas attract viewers who enjoy films that explore unusual or otherworldly concepts through exciting visual storytelling. The film also strongly targets superhero genre enthusiasts. Over the past decade, superhero movie have become one of the most dominant form of blockbuster entertainment. An audience familiar with this genre often seek out new entries that expand or reinterrupt well-known comic book character. Because Venom originated from Marvel or reinterpret well-known comic book character because Venom originated from Marvel Cosmic. Many fans of comic book based storytelling are naturally interested in seeing how the character involved on screen. The film therefore appealed to viewers who follow the broader world of comic book cinema. Another group within the target audience consists of fans of the previous Venom film. Earlier movies in the series, including Venom and Venom Let There Be Carnage, introduced unusual relationship between Eddie Brock and the alien symbiote Venom. This dynamic has become one of the defining element of the franchise. Viewers who enjoy the earlier installments are likely to return for the third film because they want to see how the story continue and possibly conclude. The presence of Tom Hardy in the leading role also attract a particular segment of viewers who follow his work as an actor. Hardy is known for portraying complex characters with strong personalities, and his performance as Eddie Brock add depth and unpredictability to the film. Fans of his acting style may be drawn to the movie because they expect an energetic and engaging performances. The film is also intended for casual blockbuster audience. Many people attend superhero movies simply for entertainment rather than deep knowledge of the comic book lore. These viewers typically look for exciting action sequence, memorable character, and visually impressive scene. The Venome franchise offers these elements through its combination of dynamic fight scenes, humor, and special effects. Another important characteristic of the target audience include viewers who enjoy dark humor and unconventional protagonists. Unlike many superheroes who represent clear moral idea, Venom exists in a more morally ambiguous space. He can be dangerous and even frightening, yet he often displays loyalty and a strong sense of humor. This unusual mixture creates a character that appeals to the audience who enjoy stories about anti-heroes rather than traditional heroic figures. The films may also attract viewers interested in spectacle-driven cinema. Modern blockbuster audience often expect visually impressive experience where they go to theaters, and the Venom films are known for their elaborate visual effects. The transformation scenes, symbiote battle, and large-scale confrontation are designed to create a sense of excitement that work particularly well on large cinema screen. At the same time, the movie still attempt to connect emotionally with viewers through the central partnership between Eddie and Venom. Their constant argument, unexpected cooperation, and the evolving relationship provide moment of humor and character development that make the story more engaging for audience who enjoy personality driven narrative. Overall, the primary target audience for the film include teenager, young adult, superhero fan, action and science fiction enthusiastic, and viewers who appreciate darker comic book stories. By combining intense action, unusual humor, and distinctive anti-hero protagonist, the film positions itself as entertainment for audience who want a superhero movie that feel energetic, slightly chaotic, and different from the traditional heroic formula. The emotional experience promised by the film is shaped by its unique blend of action, dark humor, and character-driven storytelling. Unlike many traditional superhero films that focus primarily on heroic dream, this movie builds its emotional core around the unusual and complicated relationship between Eddie Brock and the alien symbiote Venom. Because of this unusual partnership, the film offers viewer a mixture of excitement, tension, humor, and emotional reflection. One of the main emotional elements the movie promises is thrill and intensity. As a superhero action film, it is designed to create a sense of adrenaline and excitement. Fast-paced battle, sudden transformation, and high-stake confrontation keep the audience engaged throughout the story. These moments are intended to make viewer feel the danger and urgency faced by the character. The symbiote powerful abilities and unpredictable nature add an external layer of tension, make the action sequence feel chaotic and powerful. At the same time, the movie introduces a strong sense of dark humor that shapes its emotional tone. Much of this humor comes from the constant dialogue between Eddie and Venom. Because they share the same bodies but have very different personalities, their interaction often lead to arguments, sarcastic remarks, and unexpected comedic moments. These scenes create emotional contrast, allowing the audience to laugh even while intense situations are unfolding. This balance between humor and danger is one of the defining features of the Venom series. And other emotional layer of the film involve conflict and internal struggle. Eddie Brock is not a typical superhero. Instead of willingly choosing a heroic path, he finds himself sharing his body with a powerful alien entity that often act on intense rather than moral judgment. This unusual situation creates a constant internal battle. Eddie must learn to coexist with Venome while also trying to maintain control over his own life. The tension between cooperation and resistance add emotional complexity to the story. The film also explored the theme of partnership and companionship. Although Venome initially appeared to be a dangerous parasite, the relationship between Eddie and the symbiote gradually evolved into something closer to friendship. They argue frequently, but they also rely on each other to survive. This unusual bond creates emotional moments where viewers may feel sympathy for both character, even though one of them is a powerful alien creature. The film uses relationship to show that connection can form in the most unexpected circumstances. Another important emotional theme present in the film is identity. Ade struggles to understand who he is while sharing his body with another consciousness. The presence of Venome challenges his sense of individuality and control. This conflict encourages viewers to think about question of self-identity and personal responsibility. Even though the story is presenting through action and fantasy, the emotional idea of struggling to define oneself remain relatable. Because the film is presenting as a possible final chapter in the Venome storytelling, it also promises an emotional tone that includes closure and reflection. The title itself suggests a final moment or conclusion. When audience watch a film that may represent the end of a character's journey, they often expect moment of emotional significance. These scenes may involve sacrifice, realization, or the strengthening of bond between characters. The story therefore built toward moments that aim to leave a lasting impression on viewers. Another emotional experience the movie aimed to create is a feeling of unpredictability. Venome is not a calm or stable character, and his behavior often shift between aggressive, humor, and strangely protective. This unpredictability keeps audience curious about what will happen next. Viewers may feel surprise, amusement, or tension depending on how Venome react in different situations. This emotional unpredictability contribute to the film's energetic and chaotic atmosphere. The presence of Tom Hardy also play an important role in shaping the emotional tone of the film. Hardy's performance embodies physical intensity with comedic timing, allowing him to portray both the frustration and the reluctant loyalty that Eddie feels toward Venome. His ability to switch between serious and humorous moments will help maintain the emotional balance of the story. Another emotional layer of the movie involves the themes of loyalty and sacrifice. As the story develops, the character must face situations where they must decide what they are willing to risk for each other and for the greater good. These moments create emotional weight, encouraging viewers to reflect on the meaning of trust and responsibility. Ultimately, the emotional experience promised by the film is a mixture of excitement, humor, tension, and the emotional connection. The film aimed to keep the audience entertained through thrilling action while also exploring the unusual friendship between Eddie Brock and the alien symbiote Venome. Through its combination of dark comedy, dramatic conflict, and themes of identity and loyalty, the movie offers viewers an emotional journey that is both energetic and surprisingly heartfelt. The core idea of the film, The Last Dance, can be understood as a story about coexistent identity and the complex balance between power and responsibility. Beneath its action driven surface, the film explored the unusual bond between Eddie Brock and the alien symbiote Venome, using their relationship to reflect deeper theme about partnership, inner conflict, and personal transformation. While the narrative contained the spectacular battles and dramatic confrontation, the abstract concept at the heart of the story is centered on how two different beings attempt to exist within the same life. One of the most significant theme of the film is duality. Eddie Brock represents a human perspective, one shaped by emotion, ethical dilemmas, and personal vulnerability. Norm, on the other hand, embodies raw, intense strength and alien's logic. Their coexistence creates a dynamic where two identities must negotiate control over a single existence. In abstract terms, this relationship reflects the idea that every individual contains competing impulses, rational thought, and instinctive reaction often exist in tension, and the struggle between these forces can shape a person's decision and action. The story concept can therefore be seen as an exploration of internal balance. Eddie's life changes dramatically when he becomes host to Venome, forcing him to confront aspect of himself that he might otherwise avoid. This symbiote amplify his strength but also magnify his fear and doubt through his unusual partnership. The film presents the idea that personal growth often requires confronting uncomfortable or familiar part of oneself. Another important theme within the film is identity. The presence of the symbiote raises fundamental question about where one identity ends and another being. Eddie is no longer entirely independent, yet he is not completely controlled either. This blurred boundary between two consciousness encourages viewer to consider how identity can evolve through relationship and shared experience. The narrative suggests that identity is not always fixed, instead it can change when individuals encounter forces that challenge their understanding of themselves. The concept of connection also plays a central role in the film's core idea. Although Venome appears initially as a parasitic entity, the relationship gradually evolves into a form of mutual reliance. Each character needs the other in order to survive. This transformation from conflict to cooperation reflects a broader message about the value of partnership. Even when individual being as opposites, sheer struggle can lead to unexpected form of understanding. At a deeper level, the story also explores the theme of power and responsibility. Venome possesses immense strength and destructive potential, yet that power can't exist without direction. Eddie's brain becomes the guiding influence, define how the symbiote ability are used. This dynamic highlights the idea that power alone does not define a hero or a villain. Instead, the moral choices made by those who wield power ultimately shape their role in the world. The film also touches on the concept of alienation and belonging. Both Eddie and Venome exist someone outside the boundaries of moral society. Eddie struggles to maintain stability in his life, while Venome is literally an alien entity separated from its original environment. Their partnership creates a sense of belonging that neither character could find alone. In this way, the film suggests that companionship can emerge even in the most unusual circumstances. Another key message within the story involves adaptation. The character must constantly adjust to changing at circumstances, learning how to work together despite their differences. This theme reflects the broader human experience of adapting to new challenges and unexpected situations. By presenting this process through the metaphor of human symbiote relationship, the film transfers a fantastical concept into something symbolically meaningful. The narrative structure also suggests the idea of consequence. Every decision made by Ade and Venome carries potential repercussions not only for themselves but also for the world around them. The story suggests that extraordinary power inevitably create ripple effect that influence many lives. Through this perspective, the film explores the moral weight that accompanies the ability to shape events on a larger scale. The title itself hints at another central theme: finality and transformation. The phrase last chance implies that the event of the story may represent a concluding chapter in the journey of Ade and Venome. In abstract storytelling terms, such as conclusion often symbolize the completion of a cycle. Characters who have struggled with identity, partnership, and responsibility may ultimately reach a moment of realization or acceptance. Within this context, the film story concept becomes less about a single battle or conflict and more about a journey toward understanding. The challenge faced by the character serve as a catalyst for personal evaluation. By confronting external threat, Eddie and Venome also confront the internal tension that define their partnership. The film's central message can therefore be interpreted as an exploration of how opposing forces can coexist and eventually cooperate. The human and the alien, the rational and the intensive, the humorous and the dangerous, all of these elements come together within the same narrative space. Rather than presenting a simple struggle between good and evil, the story invites viewer to consider the complexity that raise when identity merge and boundaries dissolve. In this way, the film presents a core idea that goes beyond its action sequence and visual spectrum. Through the evolving relationship between Eddie Brook and Venome, the film explored theme of identity, balance, responsibility, and connection. These abstract concepts from the philosophical foundation of the story, turning a superhero narrative into a broader reflection on coexistence and transformation. The central conflict of the film revolves around the tension created by power, identity, and struggle to coexist within forces that are fundamentally different. Rather than being defined only by external threat or physical confrontation, the deeper conflict emerged from the complex relationship between Eddie Brock and the alien symbiote Venome. Their partnership creates a situation where survival, responsibility, and the personal control are constantly challenged. This tension forms the emotional and philosophical foundation of the story. At the heart of the narrative lies a moral dilemma about power and control. Venome possesses extraordinary strength and abilities that far exceed normal human limits. However, power of that magnitude can't exist without consequence. Eddie becomes the human anchor for this immense force, which places him in a position where he must continually decide how that power should be used. The presence of Venome means that every action has the potential to cause destruction or protection depending on how that power is guided. The situation creates an ongoing challenge related to the responsibility. Eddie does not simply own desire and intents. The symbiote is not always aligned with human moral expectation, and this difference lead to internal tension. Eddie must constantly weigh the outcome of decisions that affect both himself and others around him. The film explores the idea that possesses extraordinary abilities often bring difficult choices where the correct path is not always obvious. Another important element of the central conflict involves the struggle for identity. Because the Eddie and Venome accompany the same body, the boundary between their individual identities becomes blurred. Each character influences the other, creating a relationship where personal independence is constantly negotiated. This dynamic raises deeper questions about individuality and autonomy. When two minds coexist within the same existence, the idea of the single stable identity becomes complicated. The tension also produces a sense of psychological conflict. Eddie attempts to maintain control over his life and decisions, while Venome operates according to instincts that do not always match human values. Their coexistence forces both characters to confront difference in perspective and motivation. This internal struggle becomes one of the most important driving force in the narrative, shaping the emotional atmosphere of the story. The conflict is also tied to the broader theme of acceptance versus resistance. At times, Eddie may feel the urge to reject the influence of the symbiote, viewing it as a dangerous intrusion into his life. At other moments, the partnership may appear necessary for survival or protection. This constant tension between rejection and reliance reflects a deeper philosophical question about whether individuals should resist the force that chains them or learn to adopt and coexist with them. In addition to internal struggle, the central conflict includes the pressure created by external expectation and consequence. When a person carries extraordinary power, the world around them inevitably react. Society often fear what it can't understand, especially when the power appear unpredictable. As a result, the character face a continuous challenge in determining how they fit into the world that may see them as either protector or threats. This external pressure intensifies the moral complexity of the story. Eddie must decide whether to prioritize personal freedom, public safety, or the survival of his unusual partnership with Venome. These choices are rarely simple and they often involve competing values that can't easily be reconciled. The tension between individual survival and broader responsibility becomes one of the defining aspects of the narrative. Another dimension of the central conflict relates to trust. Because Eddie and Venome come from entirely different worlds, trust does not merge naturally between them. Instead, it must develop gradually through shared experience and difficult compromise. Trust becomes both fragile and essential, as each character must decide whether to rely on the other despite their differences. This dynamic reflects a broader human theme, the difficulty of building trust in a relationship where perspective and priorities do not align. The film uses the human symbiote partnership as a metaphor for any relationship where cooperation is necessary but not always comfortable. The tension between intent and morality also plays a significant role in the central conflict. Venom often represents a raw impulses where Eddie represents the effort to impose ethical structure on that impulse. Their interaction becomes a symbolic struggle between emotional reaction and rational decision making. In this way, the film transforms a science fiction concept into a reflection on the internal conflict that individuals face when balancing desire with responsibility. Another challenge within the narrative involves the idea of balance. Neither Eddie nor Venom can completely dominate the partnership without consequence. If one side gains too much control, the balance that allows them to function together being to collapse. Maintaining equilibrium becomes essential, yet it is also difficult because both character possesses strong and sometimes conflicting motivation. Ultimately, the central conflict of the film is not always about confronting external threats but also about navigating the complex relationship between two beings who must learn to coexist. The story explains the moral dilemma related to power, identity, trust, and responsibility. It asks whether individuals can truly cooperate with forces that challenge their values and whether understanding can emerge from conflict. Through this ongoing tension, the narrative presents a deeper exploration of how opposing elements, human and alien logic and intense independence and partnership, can struggle against each other while still forming a fragile but meaningful connection. The story of Venome, The Last Dance, explores a variety of themes that go beyond the action and spectacle typically associated with superhero film. While the movie contained dramatic confrontation and visually intense sequence, the narrative also raised deeper questions about identity, responsibility, loyalty, and complicated nature of partnership. Through the evolving relationship between Eddie Brooke and the alien symbiote Venom, the film reflects on several ethical and emotional ideas that shape the character journey. One of the most significant themes explored in the film is identity and self-understanding. Eddie Brooke's life becomes complicated when he shares his body with another conscience. This unusual situation forces him to confront a fundamental question: who truly defines his actions and choices? The presence of Venom blurred the line between individual identity and shared experience as the characters interact and influence each other. The story suggests that identity is not always fixed, instead, it evolves through relationship and experience that challenge a person's sense of control and independence. Another important themes involve power and moral responsibility. Venom possesses immense strength and abilities that can easily cause destruction. However, power alone does not determine whether a character becomes heroic or dangerous. The ethical question that raises is how such power should be used. Eddie often defines himself in situations where he must guide or restrain Venom. Instead, this creates a constant moral challenge, asking whether power should serve personal survival or a broader sense of justice. The film encourages viewers to reflect on the responsibility that comes with possessing the influence of strength. Closely connected to this idea is the theme of ethical compromise. The partnership between Eddie and Venome requires both characters to make just adjustment. Venome must learn to operate with certain limits, while Eddie must accept the reality of sharing his life with an alien's identity. This relationship raises questions about how much compromise is necessary in order to maintain cooperation. It also explores the tension between maintaining personal principle and adapting to circumstances that demand flexibility. The movie also explored the theme of loyalty and trust. At first glance, the relationship between Eddie and Widow may appear unstable or even hostile. They often disagree or argue and challenge each other's decisions. Yet over time, their partnership develops into a form of mutual reliance. Each character depends on the other for survival and support. The story therefore examines how trust can develop even between individuals who being at opposite. It suggests that loyalty often grows through shared struggles rather than immediate understanding. Another emotional theme present in the narrative is companionship and belonging. Both Eddie and Venom exist somewhat outside normal society. Eddie struggles to maintain stability in his personal and professional life, while Venom is literally an alien being separated from his original environment. Their partnership creates a sense of belonging that neither character could easily find elsewhere. Through his connection, the film explores the human desire to find acceptance and companionship even in unexpected form. The theme of internal conflict also plays a central role because the Eddie and Venom share the same physical existence. Their disagreement become more intense and personal. The tension between human reasoning and alien instinct represent a broader psychological struggle. In symbolic terms, the character embodies the conflict between rational control and emotional impulse. This dynamic reflects a common human experience, the difficulty of balancing intensive reaction with thoughtful decision making. In addition to personal themes, the film touches on broader cultural topics related to fear and acceptance of the unfamiliar. Venom alien nature make him a figure that others may misunderstand or fear. The presence of something powerful and unknown often lead to suspicion and anxiety. Through the idea, the narrative indirectly reflects on how society react to differences. It suggests that unfamiliar forces are often judged quickly without full understanding. Another theme explored in the story is transformation and adaptation. Both Eddie and Venom undergo change as they continue their relation. These changes are not only physical but also emotional and psychological. The characters learn to adapt to each other's presence and gradually reshape their persistent perspective. The film therefore highlights the idea that transformation can emerge from difficult circumstances and unexpected relationships. The narrative also addresses the concept of sacrifice and consequence. When individual possesses extraordinary ability, their choices can affect many people around them. This responsibility forces the character to consider the consequence of their action. The theme of sacrifice often appears when character may choose between personal comfort and the well-being of others. These moments add emotional weight to the story and encourage viewers to think about the cost of protecting or supporting those around them. Another important theme is the balance between chaos and control. Venom represents raw, energy, and unpredictable instinct, while Eddie represents an attempt to create order and restraint. Their partnership becomes a constant negotiation between these opposing forces. The film suggests that true balance may not come from eliminating chaos but from learning how to manage it constructively. Finally, the story also explored the theme of acceptance of one's circumstances. Eddie does not initially choose the life he ends up living, yet he must eventually decide how to move forward within that reality. Accepting the presence of Venome means accepting change, responsibility, and uncertainty. The narrative therefore reflects a broader human truth. Life often presents situations that can't be reversed, only understand and managed. Through these themes, Venome the Last Dance present a narrative that goes beyond simple action by exploring ethical questions about power, emotional arc related to trust, companionship, and culture, ideas about acceptance and transformation. The film uses its unusual premise to reflect on deeper aspects of human experience. The emotional connection created by Venome the Last Dance comes from the way the story blends spectacle with personal struggle. While the film contains large-scale action and impressive visual effects, its emotional strength lies in the complicated partnership between Eddie Brock and the alien symbiote Venome. Through this unusual relationship, the movie built a viewer experience that mixes humor, tension, vulnerability, and moment of reflection. The audience is not only invited to watch exciting events unfold but also to connect with the emotional journey of characters who are constantly try to understand themselves and each other. One of the main way the film connect with viewers emotionally is through its mood. The story shifts between intense action sequence and quieter, more personal moment. These emotional transition show audience to experience excitement while also observing the internal struggle of the character. During high energy scenes, viewers feel the urgency and danger surrounding the character. Calmer scene, the focus moves toward conservation, internal conflict, and emotional reaction. This combination creates a rhythm that keeps the audience engaged while allowing deeper emotional theme to emerge. Another key factor in building emotional connection is the theme of companionship in unusual circumstances. Eddie Brock never intended to share his life with an alien symbiote, yet the situation forces him to adopt and form a relationship with Venome. Over time, what being as chaotic and sometimes hostile coexistence slowly develop into a strange form of partnership. Many viewers can relate to the idea that relationships do not always being smoothly. The film suggests that understanding and trust can grow even when two individuals initially seem incompatible. This evolving partnership creates moments that are both humorous and emotionally meaningful. We know personality often contrasts sharply with Eddie's curious nature. Their arguments, sarcastic exchanges, and misunderstanding add a layer of humor that make the relationship feel lively and unpredictable. At the same time, their interaction reveal deeper emotional theme about learning to cooperate and respect differences. The humor therefore becomes more than simple entertainment. It becomes a part of the emotional language of the story. The theme of identity also strengthens the emotional connection between the film and its audience. Eddie's life is complicated by the presence of another consciousness within his body. This unusual situation raises questions about control, independence, and personal identity. While the science fiction concept may seem extraordinary, the emotional struggle behind it is familiar. Many people experience moments when they feel divided between different parts of themselves, between instinct and reason, desire and responsibility. The relationship between Eddie and Venome symbolically reflects this internal human conflict. Another emotional layer emerges through the theme of trust and loyalty. Because Eddie and Venome emotional layer emerges through the theme of trust and loyalty because Eddie and Venome originate from completely different worlds. Their partnership requires constant negotiation. Trust does not appear immediately. It must develop gradually through shared challenges. This process mirrors real-life relationships where trust grows slowly as individuals prove that reliability and commitment to one another. As viewers watch this development unfold, they become invested in whether the character will succeed in maintaining their fragile bond. The film also creates emotional engagement by exploring the idea of responsibility connected to power. Venome possesses extraordinary abilities that could easily cause destruction if left uncontrolled. Add a role in guiding this power adds moral weight to the story. The audience observes a character who must constantly decide how to use abilities that could protect others but also create danger. These dilemmas encourage viewers to think about the responsibility that accompany influence and strength. The performance of Tom Hardy played an important role in shaping the emotional tone of the film. Hardy portrayed Eddie Brock as a character who is often frustrated and strangely attached to the symbiote sharing his life. His performance combined seriousness with comedic timing, making Eddie's feel relatable despite the unusual circumstances surrounding him. Through facial expression, body language, and dialogue, the character expressed confusion, determination, and occasional affection toward Venome. This layered performance helped audience connect personally with the character's experience. Another factor that strengthened the viewer's emotional experience is the film exploration of belonging and isolation. Both the Eddie and the Venome exist someone outside ordinary society. Eddie struggle with maintaining a stable place in the world, while Venome is literally an outsider from another planet. Their partnership creates a sense of belonging that neither could easily find alone. This theme resonates with audience who have experienced moments of feeling disconnected or misunderstood. The story also evolve, evokes emotion through its theme of adaptation and personal growth. As the narrative unfolds, the characters are forced to adapt to circumstances that can't easily escape. Instead of resisting change indefinitely, they gradually learn to work together. This transformation suggests that growth often comes from situations that initially feel uncomfortable or challenging. The film invites viewers to reflect on their own experience with change and adaptation. Finally, the emotional connection is strengthened by the idea of the shared struggle. The character face difficulties that require cooperation and mutual understanding. Their success depends on learning how to function together despite their differences. Their shared journey creates a sense of emotional investment for the audience, who being to view the partnership not simply as a plot device but as a meaningful relationship. Through these emotional layers, the film offers more than action and visual spectacle. By exploring theme of companionship, identity, responsibility, and belonging, the film creates a viewer experience that combines excitement with emotional weight. The unusual bond between Eddie Brook and Venome becomes the heart of the story, inviting audience to connect with characters who must navigate conflict, humor, and loyalty in order to survive and grow together. In this film, the characters are the driving force behind the film's tone, emotional energy, and the narrative tension. While the movie belongs to the superhero and the action genre, its identity relies heavily on the personalities and the dynamic of its central figure. From a reviewer's perspective, the film character structure revolves around a unique partnership between two very different entities who must coexist despite conflicting instinct and perspective. The most prominent figure in the story is Eddie Brook, portrayed by Tom Hardy. Eddie represents the reluctant hero archetype, a character who does not initially seek power or responsibility but becomes involved in extraordinary circumstances. Unlike traditional superheroes who actively pursue heroic role, or Eddie often appears overwhelmed by the strange reality he inhabits. His personality traits include transformation, determination, sarcasm, and a lingering sense of moral awareness. He constantly struggles to maintain control over his life while inviting the unpredictable influence of the symbiote sharing his body. From a critical perspective, Eddie Brook functions as the emotional anchor of the story. He is the character through the home experience from the narrative, moral dilemma, and internal conflict. His reaction to chaos, danger, and responsibility help around the film. More fantastical element added responsibility also add humor to the life. His confusion and irritation toward the symbiote create a moment that balance the darker tone of the story. Opposite Eddie stand Venome, the alien symbiote that share his body. Venome represent a different type of character archetype, the anti-hero creature or the created chaotic ally. Unlike traditional heroic figure, Venome is driven by intense epipeptide and raw power. His personality is bold, aggressive, and often unpredictable. At the same time, Venome demonstrates a surprising sense of humor and curiosity about human behavior. What makes Venoms particularly interesting from a character analysis standpoint is the way he combines menace with charm. He is capable of intimidation and destruction, yet he also shows moments of loyalty and protectiveness. This duality creates a layered character who can't be easily categorized as either villain or hero. Instead, Venom exists somewhere between these roles, which add complexity to the narrative. The relationship between Eddie Brook and Venom can be understood as the central character dynamic of the film rather than functioning as separate individuals. They operate as a shared entity with two spices and perspective. This structure creates constant dialogue and tension within the same physical presence. From a storytelling standpoint, this unusual arrangement allows the film to explore internal conflict in a highly visible and entertaining way. Their interaction often resembles the classic old couple archetype found in storytelling. Added represent caution, ethical consideration, and human vulnerability, while Venom embodies intense strength and impulsive action. Their disagreements frequently lead to humorous exchange, but they also highlight deeper questions about trust and cooperation. As reviewers often observe, this relationship becomes the emotional heart of the film, transforming what might have been a simple action narrative into something more character driven. This dynamic also reflects a symbolic struggle between reason and impulse. Eddie's attempt to impose moral structure and restraint, while Venom act according to instinct and desire. Their ongoing negotiation over the scene create dramatic tension throughout the story. In many ways, this relationship mirrors the internal conflict that individuals experience when balancing human emotional impulses with a rational judgment. Supporting character in the film provide additional perspective that influence the central relationship. Actors such as Chiwetel Ejiofor, Juno Temple, and Rhys Ifans contribute to the broader narrative environment. These characters often represent external viewpoint on the unusual partnership between Eddie and Venom. Their presence allows the story to explore how society reacts to individuals who possess extraordinary and potentially dangerous abilities. From a reviewer's viewpoint, sporting characters typically serve as narrative and a catalyst. They challenge the protagonist, create moral pressure, and introduce new complications that force the main character to reconsider their choices. While they may not share the same screen presence as Eddie and Venom, their role help expand the story beyond the internal relationship between the two central figures. Another notable aspect of the character structure is the emphasis on transformation. Both Eddie and Venom evolve as the story progresses. Eddie gradually learns to adapt to his unusual circumstances, while the Venom being to show sign of understanding human emotion and priority. This mutual development adds depth to their partnership and prevent the character from remaining static. The performance of Tom Hardy deserves particular attention in any character analysis. Hardy must portray both frustration and reluctant companionship within the same role, often reacting to a voice and the presence that only he can perceive. His ability to balance comedic timing with emotional intensity help maintain the film's distinctive tone. Ultimately, the character structure of the film it revolves around contrast, human and alien control, and chaos, caution, and instant. Through the interaction between Eddie Brooke and Venom, the film presents a character dynamic that is both entertaining and thematically meaningful. Their personalities, conflict, and gradual understanding of each other form the emotional narrative core of the story. The acting performance in this film play a significant role in shaping the film's emotional tone and overall viewer experience. While the movie contains large-scale action and heavy visual effects, the success of the story depends largely on how convincingly The actor brings their character to life. From a reviewer perspective, the performance combines intensity, humor, and personality along the film to balance its darker theme with moments of emotional warmth and entertainment. At the center of the film is Tom Hardy, who returns as Eddie Brock. Hardy's performance remains one of the more distinctive aspects of the entire Venome series. Playing Eddie requires a unique acting approach because the character constantly interacts with the symbiote Venome who exists within the same body. This unusual dynamic demands that Hardy portray both frustration and reluctant companionship at the same time. Emotionally, Hardy's performance captures Eddie as a man who is both exhausted and strangely attached to the chaos surrounding him. His facial expression, body language, and vocal reaction often reflect someone who is trying to maintain control over an unpredictable situation. These moments create an emotional connection with the audience because Ade feel human and imperfect rather than traditionally heroic. Hardy brings a sense of vulnerability to the role, making the character relatable even in extraordinary circumstances. One of Hardy's strongest acting qualities in the film is its comedic timing. Much of the humor arises from the ongoing argument between Eddie and Venome, even though Venome is largely created through visual effect and voice work. Hardy's reaction make these exchanges feel natural and entertaining. His ability to shift quickly from irritation to reluctant acceptance help maintain the film's playful tone without losing emotional authenticity. The voice and personality of Venom also contribute significantly to the performance dynamic. Although Venom is a digital character, his presence is shaped through vocal performances and interaction with Hardy's interaction. The symbiote's deep, commanding voice and mischievous personality create a strong contrast with Eddie's anxious and curious behavior. This contrast enhances the emotional energy of their scene together, making their relationship feel lively and unpredictable. From a reviewer perspective, the chemistry between Eddie and Venome is the heart of the film. Their interaction resembles an unusual partnership where two completely different personalities must cooperate to survive. At times, their dialogue feels like a comedic argument between roommates, while at other moments it carries a deeper sense of loyalty and trust. This evolving relationship creates emotional variety, allowing the audience to experience humor, tension, occasional warmth within the same storyline. Beyond the lead performance, the supporting cast also contribute to the emotional atmosphere of the movie. Actors such as Chiwetel Ejiofor, Juno Temple, and Rhys Ifans bring their own distinct presence to the film. Each performance adds a different tone to the narrative, helping to understand the world beyond the central partnership between Ade and Venome. Chiwetel Ejiofor, known for his ability to portray thoughtful and authoritative character, brings a sense of seriousness and intensity to his role. His performance often carries emotional weight, providing a grounding presence within a story that includes extraordinary creation and large-scale action. Ejiofor calm and controlled acting style contrasts effectively with the chaotic energy surrounding Eddie and Venome. Juno Temple contributed a different kind of emotional energy. Her performance introduced curiosity, intelligence, and the moment of empathy into the narrative. Temple's expressive acting style helped create scenes that feel both personal and character driven. She had a sense of warmth and humanity that complement the darker and more intense element of the story. Meanwhile, Ifans brings a distinctive personality of the film, often blending subtitle humor with dramatic presence. His acting style adds texture to the supporting cast, creating characters who feel memorable even within a fast-paced action environment. What makes the acting in the films particularly interesting is how it supports the movie's unusual tone. The story moves between dark action, suspense, and humor, and the performance must adapt to these shifts. The actors manage this balance by maintaining believable emotional reaction even when the narrative becomes exaggerated or fantastical. Another important aspect of the performance is a sense of emotional progression. As the story develops, the character gradually reveal different side of themselves. Addis become more accepting of his strange circumstances, while Venome being to show a deeper sense of loyalty. These changes are communicated through small acting detail, include tone of voice, expression, and shift in attitude. Ultimately, the acting performance in the film succeed because they embrace the film's unusual premise rather than treating it as purely spectacle. Tom Hardy anchored the story with a performance that blend humor, frustration, and emotional sincerity. The supporting cast strengthened the narrative by adding depth and variety, while the chemistry between Eddie Brock and Venome provide the film with its more memorable emotional moment. Through these performances, the movie create a character-driven experience that complemented visual intensity and action-driven storytelling. In a film like Venome, the last dance realism does not necessarily come from everyday situation or ordinary setting. Instead, realism emerges through the emotional authenticity of the character and the way their experience reflects genuine human reaction. Even though the story involve aliens, symbiotes, extraordinary ability, and large-scale conflict, the film attempt to ground its narrative by focusing on believable character development and emotional depth. From a reviewer perspective, the strength of the story lies in how it makes a fantastical concept feel emotionally relatable. One of the most important aspects of realism in the film is the development of the central character. Eddie Brock, portrayed by Tom Hardy. Eddie is not presenting as an additional hero who confidently embraces power and responsibility. Instead, he often appears uncertain, frustrated, and occasionally overwhelmed by the unusual situation he faces. Sharing his life with the alien symbiote Venom create constant disruption is his personal emotional life. This struggle contribute to the realism of the character because it reflects how an ordinary individual must react when placed in extraordinary circumstances. At his development throughout the narrative add further depth to his character. Rather than remaining steady, he gradually learned to adopt to the presence of Venom and the responsibilities that accompany their relationship. His journey reflects a process of acceptance and adjustment. At first, he may resist the symbiotic influence, but over time, he begins to recognize the necessity of cooperation. This transformation mirrors real life situation where individuals must learn to work with challenges that can't easily be removed from their lives. The character of Venome also contributes to the film exploration of realism. Even though he is a non-human entity, while Venome possesses immense strength and an intimidating appearance, the character is given distinct personality trait and make him more than just a destructive creature. Venome often displayed curiosity, humor, and an evolving sense of loyalty toward Adam. These personality create a sense of emotional depth, transforming the symbiote into a character capable of growth rather than a simple antagonist or tool. The relationship between Eddie and Venome form the emotional core of the film, and this relationship is where much of the story realism emerges. Although their partnership is unusual, the dynamic between them reflect familiar pattern found in many human relationships. They argue, challenge each other's decisions, and occasionally misunderstand each other's intention. These conflicts feel believable because they resemble the kind of disagreement that occur between individuals who must share responsibilities or personal space. Another element that contributes to realism is the film's attention to emotional range. The characters are not limited to a single emotional tone. Instead, they move through a variety of feelings, including frustration, fear, humor, determination, and reluctant affection. This range allows the audience to see multiple sides of the character personalities. For example, moment of tension may be followed by scenes of comedic relief while dramatic confrontation may reveal vulnerability or uncertainty. The emotional variation make the character feel more authentic. Real people rarely respond to situation with a single consistent emotion. Instead, their reaction shift depending on circumstances by allowing its character to express multiple emotions. The film creates a more layered and believable portrait of their experience. Another aspect of death comes from the moral complexity surrounding the character's decision. Eddie must constantly evaluate how the power associated with Venome should be used. This creates a situation where the distinction between right and wrong may not always be obvious. Such dilemmas add realism to the narrative because they reflect the complicated nature of ethical decision making in real life. The sporting cast also contribute to the sense of believability with the story. Character portrayed by actors such as Chiwetel Ejiofor, Juno, Temple, and Ryan's Ifans provide perspective that expand the emotional landscape of the film. These characters often respond to the central conflict with curiosity, concern, or skepticism, reflecting the range of reaction that people might have when confronted with unusual or dangerous phenomena. Through their interaction with Eddie and Venome, these supporting characters help anchor the story within a recognizable social environment. Their responses remind the audience that extraordinary abilities and alien forces would inevitably affect the lives of others, creating consequences that extend beyond the main characters. Another important element of the character depth involves the theme of adaptation. Both Eddie and Venome undergo gradual change as they navigate their shared experience. Eddie becomes more confident in handling the challenges associated with the symbiote, while Venome being to develop a greater understanding of human priorities and emotional values. This emotional evaluation adds notes to their partnership, demonstrating that growth can occur even in the most unlikely relationship. From a reviewer's perspective, the realism in the film does not depend on whether the event themselves would happen in reality. Instead, it emerges from the way the character react to those events by emphasizing believable emotion, gradual development, and complex relationship. The film creates a sense of authenticity within a highly imaginative story. Ultimately, the depth of the character lies in their ability to feel genuine despite the extraordinary world they inhabit. Through emotional range involving relationship and meaningful personal struggle, the narrative invites viewers to connect with characters who must learn to cast responsibility and companionship in order to move forward. The production budget of the film reflects a carefully planned approach to modern blockbuster filmmaking. In the current film industry, superhero and comic book movies often require substantial financial investment because of their reliance on visual effects, large production team, and global marketing campaign. However, not every film in this genre operate at the same financial scale. In the case of this movie, the budget appeared to follow a more controlled strategy that balanced spectacle with financial efficiency. The estimated cost range for the production of the film is generally reported to be around $100 to $120 million. This places the film in the mid-range category for major superhero production. While this figure represents a significant investment, it is noticeably lower than the budget of many large franchise films that can exceed $200 million. Studios often make these decisions strategically, especially when they are continuing an established series that already has a recognizable formula and loyal audience. The film is produced by Sony Pictures, which has been developing a collection of movies based on Marvel-related stories. Within this context, the Venome series has always maintained a relatively stable budget structure instead of dramatically increasing cost with each installment. The studio has generally kept production expenses within a similar range. This approach allows the audience to remain financially manageable while still delivering the visual scale expected from a superhero story. A large portion of the budget is dedicated to visual effect and digital production work. The character Venome is created almost entirely through computer generated imagery. Every transformation, movement, and combat sequence involving the symbiote require extensive animation and post production work. Visual effect team must design complex texture, fluid motion, the interaction between digital and live action element because the symbiote often appear as a constantly shifting form. Creating these sequences demand both advanced technology and significant labor from artists and technicians. Another major area of resource allocation involves cost and performance cost. The film is led by Tommy Hardy, who play Eddie Brock and also contribute creatively to the character development. Lead actor in successful franchise typically receive substantial compensation, particularly when they have become closely associated with the identity of the series. Hardy involvement is central to the film's appeal, and his performance formed the emotional foundation of the story. Supporting actor also present an emotional component of the budget. Performer such as Chiwetel Ejiofor, Juno Temple, and Ryan Ifans bring additional depth and credibility to the cast. Hiring experienced actor for supporting role contribute to the overall quality of the production and help maintain audience interest in the broader narrative. In addition to the acting talent, the production must cover a wide range of the technical department. Cinematography, lighting, costume design, sound recording, stunt coordination, and set construction are required specialized teams. Even in films that rely heavily on digital effects, practical filmmaking elements remain essential. Location must be secure, set must be built, and action sequence must be choreographed safely and convincingly. Another significant portion of the budget is allocated to post production. After high filming is completed, editors, sound designer, and visual effect artists continue working for months to finalize the movie. This stage is particularly expensive for superhero film because digital character and environment must be carefully integrated into the live action footage. Sound design, music composition, and color grading also play an important role in shaping the final cinematic experience. When comparing the film Venome, the last dance, to the similar film in the superhero genre, its budget appears relatively moderate. Many major entries in the broader comic book movie landscape involve enormous financial commitment that can exceed $200 million before marketing costs are considered. These larger budgets are often associated with ensemble cast, complex world building, and extensive global filming location. The Venome series, however, focuses more heavily on the central relationship between Eddie Brock and symbiote because the narrative structure is more concentrated. The filmmaker can achieve impressive visual spectacle without requiring the same level of financial expansion seen in some other franchise. Overall, the production budget of the film demonstrates a balanced approach to the blockbuster filmmaking. By invested heavily in visual effect, lead performance, post-production quality while maintaining a control over cost range, the studio ensured that the film remained visually ambitious yet financially sustainable with a competitive superhero market. The domestic box office performance of the film offers an inside look into how the modern superhero film perform within the North American market. In the film, the domestic box office refers especially to the ticket sale within the United States and the Canada. This region has historically served as a financial testing ground for major Hollywood release because it reflects audience response in the industry home market. Even though global earnings are increasingly important, domestic revenue still provide valuable context for understanding the film popularity and overall market reception. In North America, the film earned approximately $139 million during its theatrical run. While this number represents a solid return for a film within its budget range, it also reveals a shift when compared with earlier entries in the same franchise. The movie opened with an estimated opening weekend of around $50 million, which place it at the top of the important because they reflect the level of anticipation that existed before the film release. Market campaign for interest and brand recognition usually play a major role in shaping these early results. The overall Venome The Last Dance deliver a solid and entertaining conclusion to the Venome trilogy. Its strength lies in energetic filmmaking, strong visual effect, and the charismatic performance of the Tom Hardy. The film may not achieve the narrative depth or the cultural impact of the most celebrated superhero film, but it succeeds in providing a memorable and engaging experience for fans of the character. By combining humor, action, and distinctive anti-hero perspective, the movie maintains the identity that has defined the Venome franchise from the beginning. Venome The Last Dance is best suited for viewers who enjoy high-energy superhero entertainment with a darker, slightly chaotic tone. Fan of action-driven comic book movies will likely appreciate the film pacing, visually intense sequence, and the visual partnership between Eddie Brock and the Venom. The movie leans heavily on spectral humor and character interaction, making it appealing to audience who prefer entertainment that prioritizes excitement and personality over slow, complex storytelling. The film is particularly recommended for viewers who already enjoy the Venom series, who admire the performance style of the Tom Hardy. Overall, The Last Dance is best. Venome The Last Dance is best experience for audience who enjoy energetic superhero film, distinct anti-hero character, and visually driven storytelling with a mix of action and dark humor.